What's the difference?
It's just for. And then. But there's rules like the people that have.
Internal, like the OAG and any, okay, great, okay.
So originally, Your Honor, we had one applicant that was going to appear via Zoom.
Okay.
Hence the setup was Zoom today.
I see.
But then at the last minute, he said he couldn't make it. And so we also do have an applicant, only one in person, the rest could not make it.
All right.
Let you go.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is the December 6th, 2024 hearing of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. I'm Judge Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, retired. And if I could start from my left, if I could have the commission members introduce themselves.
Father Mike Chrysostomo, commission member.
Ms. Mendiola, commission member.
Lisa Flores, commission member.
Also present is Emma Jean, what's your last name? Lamb. I see it all the time and I just forgot. And members of the Attorney General's office, MIT staff, Will and Eldon. Thank you very, very much. This hearing is called to order. We have a full quorum. First part of the agenda is for Emma Jean to give us notice of our compliance with the open government law.
Meeting and agenda were posted in the Guam Daily Post on November 27, 2024 and December 4, 2024. It was also posted on the Office of the Attorney General website as well as the Government of Guam Public Notices portal as required by law. This meeting is being live streamed on the OAG YouTube channel.
Thank you very much, Emma Jean. Commission members, Emma Jean had forwarded to us earlier a copy of the minutes. Would anybody like a few minutes to scan through the draft of the minutes before we approve them? It will take maybe about a minute. Go right ahead, minute or two. It was a fairly short open minutes hearing. Jean, when we get to the financial portion, and probably Mike, just make sure, I love it when you say I skipped accidentally some of the sections.
Sure.
So please keep me on track. I'd like to be able to compare the fund level report from our last hearing to whatever the fund level report is. So commission members, in the minutes, you'll notice 852,107.11 as a reference from the last hearing.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes subject to correction.
Second.
Are there any objections? There being no objections, the minutes are accepted, subject to any corrections. Next on the agenda is new business, and we're on the financial report now. Okay. All right, Emma Jean, go right ahead.
The OAG Financial Division is unable to prepare the usual financial statement for the residents. This is due to the incomplete transfers to the Department of Administration's new financial system.
We are still 11 months into 12 months. This is December.
As mentioned at the previous hearings, the reason for not getting the most updated funding amount is that OAG has not been able to confirm the funding level amount on its part, so they do not want to state the fund amount and not be accurate. According to the OAG Financial Division, the sum of $833.13 is reflected in the CICC fund. You asked me last time you wanted to have.
And is that local funding?
Correct.
It's not the federal funding.
Correct. And so for the bills of compensation allocation combined balance, that amount is $88,000.
When you say combined balance, can you clarify what that means?
That means the total of FY 2022, FY 2023, and FY 2024 amounts. And that balance is $88,350.19. There's also a chart there that reflects, as well as the local balance and the fields of the
And commissioners, it's been the past practice to expend as much of the federal funding as possible prior to our dipping into the local funding. Emma Jean, I'm just concerned, and can you please pass on to the Attorney General's financial person, Tom Paulino, that it's been a year. If he could please try his best. If not, I would like to be able to meet with the Director of Administration to find out why there's such a difficulty in being able to give the Attorney General's office an accurate and complete financial report on the local funding. So we're hovering around 850,000, which is, it's not a bad place to hover, but previously we were at either 1.2 or 1.5. And I also need to find out from the Department of Administration, I asked Tom to do this as well, whether the Superior Court of Guam has transferred the fines from the cases that are required by law when defendants pay the fines, that it go into this fund. I think that's an obligation of the commission. Certainly it is an obligation of the Attorney General's office. And I think the feds will probably not only look at the financials for the federal portion of our funds, but they'll probably even look at our local funding and how are we managing that. And 12 months after a new financial system has come in and we still don't know the accuracy, it doesn't bode very well. Commissioners, would you like me to write something to the Attorney General's, or shall we give it one more hearing?
See, Your Honor, if you're okay with it, to prepare a letter to the AG and maybe even DOA. I'm not sure what's firefighting.
It's the financial system, I guess, the new system.
I think what I would suggest is that I direct a letter to the Attorney General's office and say this is the third hearing. We had one in April, and that was early on in the transition to the new system for DOA, and we understood that. In September, again, saying concerned about the transition. And now this is the third, so I think this is the third. So the letter should go to the Attorney General's office, and we can ask the AG to give us a report back. And the AG should then, in fact, contact a DOA on that. Denise, do you deal at all with Department of Administration up at the Guam Community College? And have you noticed any issues with DOA? Oh, okay. Not financial, because you're independent. All right, commissioners, I will prepare a draft letter, send it to all of you for your review, and we'll move on that one. Anything else, Denise, on the financial report? I'm sorry, Emma Jean. Anything else, Emma Jean?
I guess the final thing is just to let the commission know that payments for previous awards have been paid out.
Awesome. That's really appreciated. And you don't have to call DOA, they're actually sending them out, right? Okay. Commissioners, any questions of Emma Jean on the financials? Okay. Item 4B is the status of our active cases. I asked Emma Jean to give us a look back on where we are so that we can prepare for upcoming hearings and how large our agenda needs to be in the coming months.
So currently there are 13 pending cases. 5 are from 2023 and 8 are from 2024. These cases are either pending additional documents and or interviews, with the exception of the last 3, which are pending the CICC notification letters. And so a more, I guess a listing is under the cases section, and that's the 15 that are, that's a great.
Where is that?
Cases.
Under cases. Okay. Okay. What's the latest application, in terms of submittal? Summertime or, September?
Latest as in the most recent.
I'm sorry, the most recent, yeah.
November.
November, okay.
Yeah, so we actually had 3 in November, 3 in October, 1 in September, and 1 in August.
How do you compare that, the last 6 months to prior years? I think the last time you said there was a spike and a jump in applications.
So at that time, I guess by our numbering system, so right now, if you see 24-14, that's 14 cases we've received so far for the year. And I guess at that time, when we had a previous hearing, it was at 8 or something, and the number rose up, by 4.
Mhm.
That's spike. And 4, we also have that PNC that we prepare and shows, because it's quarterly. I can see how much we received each quarter.
So we haven't had a huge spike. 14, 18 cases.
Right. I think there was one year that was pretty low. So for this last 2013, it was at 14 and we're at 14 now. With December still active.
Of those cases, how many are aware of the CICC based on word of mouth versus their victim's advocate is telling them, or how we have an idea of where is hearing on it?
I don't think we gather, and I could be mistaken, where they get their source. But our advocates are very good at sending that out, or me sitting close by, just to let them know if, look at the news about the cases coming up.
Mhm.
They qualify, apply for that. I don't know offhand.
The Guam Police Department has advocates. I don't know what other agency has, but it's where you have advocates. And our ability to train those advocates and the work that we do is how the victims are going to learn about it.
I guess the question would be, do we need to do advertising? And that was one of the questions that came up on hearing. Are we advertising?
We could put, certainly in April, which is Crime Victims Month, we could put something in the newspaper. We could put something at any point in time, and it's something that we have not discussed very much as a commission. We've just been trying to get our statute in order, our rules and regulations in order, and to get our feet as commissioners firmly planted. I very much want to do outreach. I've spoken to Denise about chairing a subcommittee on outreach. To know, I don't know, Denise, you have a lot of great ideas and on the table. What are your comments to putting something in the newspaper as Dr. Flores was suggesting?
It doesn't have to necessarily be in the newspaper. I guess the question is what kind of outreach, advertising,
How are we
and that's what
accessing?
that's what the senators were kind of asking.
But I think we can also do social media. I mean, it's free. Maybe we can have our own Facebook
Who's
page.
gonna run that?
Yeah, that's another story, but we're just talking about outreach right now. So who's gonna do the outreach?
I know when our advocates do go to outreaches, brochures for CICC, I take them with them too. So
We could also be official members of the coalition.
We're not officially. Is that correct?
I don't
Okay.
think so. I mean, I'm a member, but
Yeah.
not CICC.
I think the commission itself is not a member because when I was Attorney General, we were just trying to get ourselves formed. And so maybe it's an opportunity. Polly, Mike, can I suggest if you ask the coalition, to add us to the membership? I know the Attorney General's office is a member, but not the commission itself.
Clarify with that coalition.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the Guam Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Family Violence. It's a nonprofit organization that brings together government agencies and NGOs and others, like military personnel. So they come together and they talk about advocacy or funding or victims of sexual assault and family violence.
It's a very good coalition. They're very active twice a year in April and then in October. When you see people on the streets waving for crime victims, that's part of the work of the coalition. Every April and October, they have resolutions. They gather at the governor's office, the legislature, to commit for Family Violence Month and then Crime Victims Month. April is Crime Victims. October is Family Violence. So if we're in that membrane of the association, then we as commission members will get the notifications and the invites. And it doesn't have to be Imogene to get it to us. We can become members of the association. And our presence there, I know would be greatly appreciated. And I think it's time. I feel comfortable that we've got a great statute. We've got great rules and regulations that need to be promulgated. And I think it's time for that.
I think you just need to submit a letter to the director, the executive director, and then list to the board.
And I have stationery. Okay, so I'll prepare that, get it off to Imogene and
They even provide training and other resources for advocates. People in my situation, how we need training.
Almost the complaints, we're gonna do outreach, and it needs to be someone that's gonna be responsible for it. And that's I think that's what it's not. Who's going to be assigned. Because once you start doing the outreach, someone has to be at the other end of the line when people start calling and asking the questions. And there needs to be SOPs in place and with that sheet ready for them to talk about it. And so all of that needs to be with first.
I think that's why the victim advocates are the point of contact that you're talking about. Yeah.
How can you notice it from the ads giving up? And that's. It's the people that have the need that they're gonna see that, we're gonna pay attention to it. So if it's a matter of exposure, if that's what the standard is asking, then. Sure, we can put stuff out there, but it's gonna be a waste of money. Because really the people that are going to use it and are gonna be the ones that are in the system, but aren't gonna be. And so already there's a system in place that allows them to do that, and I think that there's training provided, or they sure would not, but maybe up to date or more current training as to what CICC does, and things like that. Then and arm them with the information. Maybe that's what we need, more information. There was supposed to be like a website and like a central point for them to gather the access information.
I think what the commissioners can do at our level is we can do outreaches to the heads of the agencies. For example, Denise, I'll assign you to meet with the chief of police and their advocates. And Dr. Flores, have you meet with the medical profession whenever there's a seminar. I saw something recently, I don't know why it came to my attention, but in one of the different states, they went and met with the funeral homes. And that kind of surprised me. Why are you meeting with the funeral homes? Boom, bingo. The funeral directors should have this information because they do have knowledge of how the person died. And to have funeral directors aware of what we do in the commission is great. They can say, this was a hit and run, or this was a murder. Or have the brochures at the funeral homes. Mhm, mhm.
Obviously, legal services.
Exactly. Yeah. I will work with Denise on a plan that we will make assignments to every one of the four of us. It's a great idea because April's coming up fast and quick. And if we're prepared to be a part of the coalition and their annual gathering of the proclamation with all community heads, it'd be nice to have our presence there, you know?
I just wanted to also apply for the advocates. Surprisingly, it's usually school.
Usually.
I only know because I'm on the board of coalitions.
If, if the coalition, is applying for it and, they get the grant, more power to them, and that's fine. But we need to be, if that in fact happens, we need to, pull the CICC along with the crime victim, funding. Okay. So, Denise, maybe I can just, meet with you one-on-one and then we'll make assignments, right?
Going back to Doc's question about how amongst these cases, how did they learn about us? You know, so we maybe include something on the application so that it's data that will be good for us to have so that if we're asked why, like the legislature,
How did you
we
find
can
out
have
about
some
us?
kind of data in place already that says out of the 14 of this year or last year, this is what.
Who told you about this program?
And we can just
Okay.
communicate, we can give choices, internet, victim advocate, a friend, faith-based, government agency. That's all.
Can you add that to the application or is it something that the applicants can just verbally key in somewhere on the current app? I mean,
think with
application.
Our recent ones, I think I know how they turned it in, you know. So moving forward, and then at the interview stage, I can ask them.
Yes, yes, okay. That'd be a great piece of data for us.
Yeah, the data is important.
I want to say majority of the other things.
To kind of segue, I don't know if it should be added as an agenda, but it's actually more of a question that I had. So I'm just kind of looked at this, our budget from last year, I'm assuming it was 65,000. Do we know how much we spent? Or how much is left? Is it one of those, it rolls over or you lose it if you don't use it?
Is it possible to ask Tom to come in or is it just too sudden to ask him to give us of FY 2024's lapses in the CICC general fund account?
You know, be-
Yeah, just ask him if he,
Which is like, do we normally get it rolled over? Is that the plan? Or is it like it's?
Imogene,
back
you can
into
ask
the
Tom if
80s?
he doesn't mind coming in. I can clue the doc on how that usually happens. Normally, general fund appropriations on September 30th lapse. Prior to September 30th, the legislature is required by law to get everyone's budget passed. And as an administrative provision, most agencies, including the executive branch run under the governor and the attorney general's office, request for carryover. It's called a carryover of unexpended funds from the lapsing year. It's come to a point now that the legislature does it as a matter of process because the general fund available revenues are never high enough. So what the legislature tends to do is to say, we will allow your $3 million that you did not expend for whatever reason to carry over. That will add to, let's say you want 200 million in appropriations. Well, we can give you 100 and, whatever to reach that, and the 3 million balances that off. The Attorney General's office, and I do recall when I was here, the legislature was gracious enough to give us that carryover. So it's kind of become a trend now. Carryover. Um,
But is it carried over as a pot of,
money.
here's for the
Yes.
Attorney General's office?
Oh, no,
But
no.
is our line of 65 kept the same?
No. The pot of money that is given to the Office of the Attorney General is one big lump sum. And it's usually about 20 million to $21 million. When I was here, it was like 14 million, then it was 17 million. And that doesn't include the federal child support money. That's an additional almost 7 to 10 million in federal child support money. And the legislature has allowed the Attorney General the discretion to take the whole pot. And in the categories of personnel and contracting and equipment, and it's all broken down, and we are one of those broken down numbers of 65,000. And the Attorney General's, the AG himself looks at that and knows that it's dedicated to our use. However, the Office of the Attorney General has the full power and jurisdiction to use that money wherever it is necessary for the operation of the Attorney General's office. So if I can't really say that of the 65,000, there was a 5,000 lapse or 10,000 lapse. We could request of the Attorney General an idea, since we did not use any travel and there was a 5,000 appropriation for travel. We know that we didn't use it, but it must have gone into the whole pot of the Attorney General and carried over. So it's pretty complicated. Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
No problem.
Would you like us to ask Tom Paulino again to have an idea?
I
It,
guess moving forward, we'll have to see what happens this coming 2025.
there's
Okay.
great discretion in the power of the Attorney General to use and operate the funds for the purposes of the responsibility of the Office of the Attorney General. If we don't speak up about it, if we don't ask, can we get supplies? Can we get officer? Can we get travel? Then that money is going to lapse and it will go into the general operation of the Attorney General's office. The one thing I'd like to ask Tom and Emma Jean, maybe you can do this for our next hearing. We did request a rollover of 65,000 for FY 2025. I believe Tom said that was going to be there. So we should still have that amount of money and we can ask to use it.
Does that money include Emma Jean's costs?
There was something around 50,000 or 55,000 for a full-time position. Whether the Attorney General has used that local money to fund Emma Jean or she is funded from a different account is up to the Attorney General's office. If her account, her funding is coming from just the personnel pocketbook of the Attorney General's office, from overall personnel, then the Attorney General could use that 50-some thousand to hire another person. So it's like,
But originally, when we chosen that amount, it was meant to ensure that we had
a person,
somebody
a person,
for it.
right, a person. And it's up to us to push the Attorney General to request that funding be used for another person to supplement the work that Emma Jean does. In the correspondence from the Attorney General during your confirmation, the Attorney General was correct. He has dedicated a full-time person to the CICC, and that is Emma Jean. We have her full-time. I don't know, and Tom would have to tell us where her funding is coming from main personnel or from the CICC. If it's there, if there's some additional money, then we might be able to get an AA, an administrative assistant, a clerk, someone to help Emma Jean. Yeah,
A lot of
Yeah.
paperwork.
it is. And that's why we want to look at how many applications are coming in. Because if we do an outreach and we don't have the staff to handle an outreach, Emma Jean can't do it by herself. Thank goodness the advocates are still helping her out a lot. Then we don't want to, and maybe that's one of the reasons we've been very hesitant to do as much outreach as we possibly can, because we need to be able to secure the administrative foundation and support for us to do even more work over the course of time. Yeah. Well, actually, previously with Amanda, she was half-half. Emma Jean is the first time under this Attorney General that we have gotten 100% full-time person. So I think General Moylan has been very kind to give us full-time. We don't want to lose her. But with the 55,000, we can ask Tom, did that money just roll over into the main bank account?
You get an email? That's part of it. I know the email got sent out regarding the email a second time, because they weren't aware. I wasn't quite sure what has transpired.
That has been a more difficult and complex matter. I've been working with Tom Paulino and Emma Jean on the issue of the email. The easiest way is to have an Attorney General OAG.guam or .gov, OAGguam.gov account. But the four of us are not employees of the Office of the Attorney General. So I can understand the OAG's hesitation to give us an OAG email. So the next alternative is the old Gmail, and that's been a bit complicated.
But that's, I think that's like, again, we're an entity under the AG or affiliated with the AG, but we're not employees of the AG.
No.
But we utilize their resources.
Mhm.
And we're part of their funding and their budget. But yet we're not able to have, yeah. Very Cinderella.
At any point in time that the commission wants to become its own entity, we are a commission. Civil Service is a commission. There's other bodies. And as we grow and mature, it may be a situation where we work with the Office of the Attorney General and work with the legislature and the governor's office to make the commission its own independent. And I'm sure the Attorney General might want to get us out of his hair. We've been very, very appreciative of the work that he's done for us, and I maybe we're not quite there yet, though, Dr. Flores, but we might be soon. Okay. Okay. Item number 5 is old business. Do we have any old business? We've kind of talked about the old business under new business. Okay, there's no old business. The next item under old business, well, there is under A, the status of the amended rules and regulations. Let me go back in time. This last April of this year, the commission, we had a long hearing and we went through section by section by section of the rules and regulations to amend them to incorporate public law. Oh, Emma Jean, which one is it again?
37-40.
3740, which was amended by the Guam legislature to incorporate and protections for and confidentiality for victim information. We put those into the rules and regulations. Attorney General Moylan sent the rules down to the Guam legislature, but the speaker had kicked it back to the Office of the Attorney General because the governor's office had not yet approved it. I think that was actually something that I had missed. I didn't realize in the new process of the administrative adjudication law that the governor had to specifically approve it. So it was kicked back to the Office of the Attorney General. And we then sent the rules up to the governor's office sometime in late June. Part of the packet that went to the governor for review was not just the rules and not just the minutes of the work that we had accomplished on the rules, but the law requires a transcript, a written transcript, not just a digital. Digital is required, but a written transcript. So we sent the Google, what is it called?
The YouTube transcript.
The YouTube transcript, which you don't want to see it. But the law doesn't say what kind of transcript.
It's a recording.
But, you know, this is written. This was a written. The recording is okay. I think if you sat down and listened to the recording, it's much better, but this is an actual written transcript. And I held my breath, and for sure, got a call from the governor's office legal staff. Judge, it's not good enough. In the letter to the governor, I did have an out that should the governor desire a professionally produced transcript, one can be sent. Anyway, I agreed with the legal staff at the governor's office. The Google transcript was just horrific. And in order to comply with the law, both digital and written transcript, we then asked the Attorney General's office for permission to hire a professional court transcriber, George Castro. We sent him our hearing sometime in mid-July. And it took him about 45 days to get a product. Came back to us, Emma Jean and I painstakingly went page by page by page, because even George had a hard time. Our recording was not as good as it is now. That room downstairs is large, and our recording was just not that good. We sent it back to George, and he finally finished his work on the transcript, and it was sent in October to the governor's office. And the assigned attorney from the governor's legal staff had just left the governor's office and is now on active military as a JAG. So I had requested the head of the governor's legal office, Jeff Moots, if he could try and find it and let us know if it's acceptable to the governor's review and the legal's review. And if it is, then we're just waiting for the governor's approval to come down to the Attorney General's office. When that comes, we'll put together a packet again for General Moylan to sign back to the Guam legislature. And then we're in the process of promulgation, 90 days, 60 or 90 days, I can't remember anymore. But it used to be 90, maybe it's still 90 days. And we probably will not send it down until the new legislature, the 38th Guam legislature. No need to send it down to this legislature. They will adjourn sine die. They are not going to be doing any more work. So not until sometime early part of January, February, if the governor can get the rules down, approved to the Attorney General's office, then we need to find out who will be the chairperson of the judiciary and legal. Does anyone know? Any hints? Okay. We'll find out who is the chair. The chair will set our rules and regulations for a public hearing. We'll go down and have the public hearing, answer the senators' questions. And if we need to make some amendments, the senators will make those amendments and changes for us and get it on for adoption by the Guam legislature. So I don't see anything earlier than maybe we can shoot for an April by the time the legislature gets through its process of promulgating. After it's promulgated, it will go to the compiler of laws for publication on the official Government of Guam Compiler of Laws website under the Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations, also known as GAR. That's our goal, is to get our rules and regulations published on the compiler of laws website of the GAR. That's a mouthful. I should have said something, and now Emma Jean has to write that in the next minutes. Okay, we're close to that. Commissioners, any questions you'd like to ask on the agenda as we've gone through 1 through 5? If there are no questions, then we will go into a closed session for the adjudication of cases which are closed in accordance with Public Law 37-40. So Will and Eldon, if you could turn off the YouTube and Zoom publications.